Gentlemen, we've made it. It is another HyperTek weekly tech update. What's going on with our hackathon, the Solana hackathon taking place? Well, it's based in France this year, but I believe everybody's doing it remotely. We've got our CTO online with us, Adrian. We have my co-host, Cato. We're going to go over some current market analysis. We're going to go over a few things today. Thank you so much for joining us. If you can do us a favor, give the room a retweet. Let people know we're about to get started so we don't have to keep repeating ourselves once the numbers get up and crazy. I'm sure Adrian has all sorts of news, but before we dip into that, how you doing, Cato? What's going on over there?
I'm doing amazing, my brother. Like I usually say, another day above ground is another day to be grateful. You know, life is too short, and sometimes we're all focused on the what we got planned for tomorrow, what we got planned from the yesterday, and we borrow from today's time to think about the next day when we just try to ground ourselves. And I'm not perfect, I try to be there myself. So there's my little 2 cents on where my head's at currently.
Nice hand. Hello, gangstas. Right back at ya. And what do we got from DevT to stream? I have no idea. That's a foreign language. I'm sorry, brother. I'm not even going to try and hash that out. I'm coming to you live this time in Thailand at the moment. It's just after 1 in the morning, 6 p.m. UTC if you're tuning in from the UK. Sorry if I sound a little nasally. I am fighting a cold. Appreciate you all being here once again. Just give this space a quick retweet for us and we can get going. We're getting the numbers up slowly. Giga Chads and the Hyper Boys. Yo. Right back to you, Han. Right back to you, man. You're here every week. I love to see it. I know there's some exciting news coming from Adrian a little later on the show, as him and I were talking last week. It's got to be good because we are thick into the Solana Hackathon. We're coming close to the end. We are about a week away from the time.fun pitch to Ansem, Tully, Murr, and I could never say the other guy's name. It's exciting times for Hyper. Yes, the markets have been a little bit nasty, and every time the markets are nasty, people tend to walk away, not focus, numbers on viewership, everything gets a little lower. What we are going to do is I'm going to go through what's going on in the markets. I'll share my screens. I'll show you what my indicators are saying, what I'm thinking. I've got some real neat insight. I have a video clip I'm going to share. It's probably the most intelligent thing I've actually seen. It's actually on Facebook. It was a Facebook reel that was sent to me, and it made a lot of sense. So I'm excited to share that with you. Frank Rodriguez reposted this stream. Thank you very much, brother. Appreciate you. I see you here every week as well. We're just shy of 100 listeners right now. So when we get this close and I see the repeats going, and this is where I'm going to call Adrian up for the first time and get a little update on what's going on in the Solana Hackathon. Adrian, it's not every day, guys, that the CTO of a project, the chief technology officer, can't talk when I have a head cold, I apologize, makes it out every week to the stream to keep you guys updated. We've just broken over 100 people. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for retweeting. Adrian, take it away, buddy. What's been going on at the hackathon?
Where do I start? It's been another busy week on the tech side, but I would say this week's actually been spent more on the human side. Spent most of my time this week speaking with people, other developers, other builders in the community, big names on Solana, people at the foundation, people all over the place, just trying to get as much feedback as we can and use that to try and really position ourselves well, because I think what I've learned over the last several weeks of speaking a lot with people is that the scope of what we're tackling here is huge. There's so many different directions we could take it, and we need to really focus on one of them and really nail that. So it's been trying to figure out what is that right angle that we can focus on, because at the end of the day, we're building a platform that can aggregate, effectively turn the entirety of Solana into a database that is easily queryable by anybody. But that's usable for back-end guys, traders, people building mobile apps, people building front ends. Like, there's so many different directions we can take it. And if we just say we're doing data, it's very hard. We're asking the user to take the leap and figure out how to bridge the gap from where they're at to where we're at. And that's something that we don't want to do. We want to really niche down and solve one specific problem first, and then we can branch out from there. So that's been a great learning that I've had from speaking with so many people. And so what we've decided on is we're really positioning ourselves as a tool that can solve a problem for people building websites, specifically for Solana, like apps for Solana on the web, using a framework for building UIs called React, which is very popular. It's the dominant one by far. And that's really where we're niching down to right now. So that's most of my week, as I said, has been spent speaking with people about all of this. Obviously, we're still shipping tech behind the scenes. The team has been working incredibly hard on making sure that we've got a good demo. We've got pump fund data flowing through the system now, so we can see all the new tokens that are launching in real time. And we can actually, we did a kind of fun demo, which maybe we'll post something about this in the next few days, where we did a side-by-side with the actual pump fund interface and our thing to show that we were actually getting the data slightly faster than pump fund was. So it was only a second or so, but you could see a new launch popping up on our side before pump fund were showing it. So that was an exciting moment for us to see that working, and we can get all the trades through, so we can do all of that. And another thing that we've been adding since we've had these conversations is not just the data side, which is kind of the reading of information, but also a problem that developers have is how to send transactions, because Solana is quite tricky. And to send a transaction isn't as simple as it might sound. You have to do a whole bunch of work to construct a transaction correctly. So we're going to package all of that up into little units, like a pump fund unit or a radium unit or a coin flip unit or whatever. And those units know how to read from those programs, and they know how to send the transactions to interact with them. And that opens up this world of composability on Solana that will allow developers to just integrate Pump Fund or integrate Camino lending into their app or whatever they want that's already on chain. Even if they don't have their own programs on chain, they can integrate other people's stuff and make the whole of Solana a lot more composable. So that's all stuff that's been changing since we last spoke, I think. And yeah, there's just a lot of conversations about our pitch deck and our one-liner and the blurb and the way that we're positioning it for Tolly, but also trying to work out strategies for the hackathon. And yeah, there's so much going on. So yeah, I won't spend too long belaboring the point, but it's been a very, very busy week.
Nice, brother. Noir Vert Dreams reposted this stream. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why we ask you to do that. Noir, thank you very much for doing that. Since we brought it to the stage, Adrian, our CTO, we've doubled the listeners at 216. Some of you here are here every week to learn what is going on with the HyperTek, what is the team building, and all of that kind of a thing. And first off, I appreciate it because it's part of my job for the team to get this information out there to the masses. And it really takes all of us together to get the word out. You know, it's following us on X. It's telling your friends about this, because you don't want to be that guy when 6 months down the road from now, your friends are going, why didn't you tell me about this? You know, the complexity of what Adrian was just talking about, I think, gets lost on the people that might not be as tech savvy. there's so much that this team is working on all at the same time. And Adrian made a really good point there. For the Soul Hackathon, they really just have to focus on one thing. But that doesn't mean the team is only focusing on one thing. At the end of the day, there's 20 people on this team, on the HyperTek team, that are all working together, that are all doing different things to be able to drive this project forward. And how many times in this space have we seen and heard, oh, we're going to be building this, we're going to be doing that, and all these grand plans, and they were never delivered upon. The crazy thing is, this team has already delivered various products. We've talked about them before, and we're going to talk about them a little bit today. And we got Cato here, co-host. He's going to introduce one of the concepts that we call coin flip. Cato, can you tell us a little bit what that is? And then I'll get my screen ready to also be able to share.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those that are new listeners, and obviously those that are returning just to hear the updates on a weekly basis, the coin flip is our first point of concept that we brought out, with the brilliant minds that we have behind the scenes, such as Adrian and the rest of the dev team, not to leave them out of the limelight, a bunch of very, very intelligent individuals. So the game itself, right? I mean, it's as old as time. It's a simple coin flip, right? Heads or tails. But the grand thing about it, right, that it is totally on chain, right? Meaning this isn't when you decide to flip, let's say, for example, as you see there, I know you see sharing the screen. Let's say you decide to do some USDC, or you decide to flip some Sol, right? Heads or tails, whether it's versus one of your friends or whether it's versus the house. There is no edge, right? Where it's like, oh, but if I start betting against the house, maybe, the house takes all my money because there's, they're going to want to win some money. Negative. So there is no edge. It is completely 50-50. And the game is as simple as that. You flip a coin, as you see here. Mr. Pope is going ahead and flipping some Sol.
Heads or tails?
Tails never fails. That's what I go for.
All right.
I go for the tails. He clicks tails. The animation, you see it flipping. Since he's flipping Sol, you see the animation there as it goes. And simple as that. He says no. He loses that 0.025 Sol. And that's it. And that is as quick as the game is. Very, very quick hit of dopamine. And it's very fun. You can flip against the house if you don't have any friends awake, or if you happen to be in our chat, which we have at the moment called the Coin Flip Arena. Right in this arena, we have a myriad of coins and different communities in there. It's not just flipping Hyper. It's not just flipping Sol. It's any of the popular coins that you see out there. We have as well. We have a list once you enter this chat. If Pope, if you can pull it up real quick and just put up the token list, you can type it in there. I'll type it in if anything, and then you can put there, and you can check the full list of tokens. You'll be able to see there, right there, token list. And you can join this chat of ours, and any of these coins you see there, from Fartboy to Giga to Aura, any of those you see there, you can go ahead and flip, whether it's versus your friends, whether it's somebody in the chat that you want to just, have a battle back and forth with, or if nobody feels like challenging you at that moment and you just want to flip and try to double your bag, you can definitely go for it and try to do it against the house. And like I said, 100% 50-50. There is no house edge. There is just that slight percentage of that we take as far as running the infrastructure, which is the 3%, and that's about it.
Maybe Adrian, you can talk a little bit about the technology on this, and what was this more, because there was more to this than just creating a coin flip. This one was to bring Telegram communities an opportunity to be able to create income. And how does that create opportunity for income? I use the analogy of it's like a small rake. Every time someone plays the flip, either the house or another player, a small portion goes to the community of the token that you're flipping, and then to HyperTek. Adrian, can you talk on this a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, really our vision for the whole thing was that we want to give communities a way to make revenue that isn't taking away from what really makes these communities special, which is their ability to grow vibrant communities of people who are really interested in the culture behind the coin, interested in what the teams are working on, and all of that kind of stuff. So they don't have to pivot away from that. They can just make revenue by creating more activity in their chat and giving their community something fun to do in the chat. And that was where the original concept came from. So as you say, the games are completely 50-50. We take a small fee when you win, and then that fee gets split between the community that's running the game. So if they install it in their chat, then they get that affiliate fee. And if there's also the ability for anybody in their community to deposit liquidity to be the house, so that they, like, if you think of like a typical Web3 casino, if you're playing like a slots game or something, you're effectively betting against the company that made it, and that's their business model. That's how they make money. They need you to lose to make money, and that's not how we've built this. We've built this in a way that the house can be the community itself. So all the funds can effectively stay within the community. The community members can add the liquidity, which is the house capital, and then the community are playing the game. And so if you're betting against the house, you're not betting against some faceless company that needs you to lose. You're betting against other people in the community instead of betting, like, as you say, you can bet against your friends and you can tag them directly, or you can bet against the whole community in aggregate by betting against the house. And that is a much more fun and sustainable way of playing these kind of games that keeps the money flowing through the system as opposed to just extracting it into the pockets of the casino. And we think that's a valuable thing to have within communities. It's fun, especially when there's a lot of people in the chat and things get go back and forth. There's a lot of banter flying around, and things can get quite heated in a very fun way. And I think that's good for communities to have that. It builds relationships amongst the people. You might end up winning some money. The projects are getting paid, and the community is getting paid. So it's kind of this really it's a really nice system to have, and we're very excited with how it's kind of panning out over time.
Yeah, it's been really neat to see, and it is like, I mean, I've just been traveling for a couple of days, and just to get this stream set up, and when I opened up that channel, there was 5,800 messages missed in the last day and a half from me logging in, and so it is quite an active thing. Cato, how can somebody get involved, either via their Telegram, or how do they get into the arena? You want to fill us in?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you were to head over to our Hyper on Soul page, you can hit the link tree there and you can get directly into our Telegram. And once you're there, you either have our personal flip there, or you can check our posts, which we are advertising pretty much whenever we add a new coin or we add another community over to the coin flip arena, and you can head on over and start flipping immediately.
That's crazy. So Hyper on Soul on the X account, the link tree will take you right to the arena. If you want this in your community, you can reach out to the Hyper on Soul account. It doesn't cost your community anything. We have, what was it, around 30 communities in there right now. And I mean, this has made 6 figures of revenue for communities. This builds war chests. It's fun to trash talk with your friends. It's fun to do some flipping, and it can give a little bit of utility to a project that might not have any utility. And that was kind of the bigger vision of Metablock and Adrian when HyperTek all started, Hyper on Soul all started. This was a CTO, and they said, we want to bring utility and so much more to a project. Little did I know they didn't mean just our project, but many others. Ice is saying, and it's easy to use too. Dude, I'm 50 years old. If I can load up a wallet on Telegram, figure out how to use Telegram and start doing some flips, anybody can do that. But not only that, they have a getting started video and how to do it and easy instructions. Um, it's quite amazing, to what they've pulled off here. And you can drop the little gifs and the photos in there and trash talking like whoever just posted that. I think that's Filippo. You scaring the hose. Awesome. So we've got Adrian for just a short period of time, so I want to bring him right back up to stage. I'm going to just pull off this here. And what we've got coming up is our why am I having a brain fart here? We have our pitch. To Time.Fun. Adrian, before you take off and get back to it, because I know you're a busy guy, and we're just shy of 300 listeners now. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're going to go over what HyperTek is building, what's coming up. We're going to do some market analysis of what's going on in the markets, and I have a few things to share for you as well. So if you're just tuning in, you've made it some good time to hear the CTO Adrian speak, catch some news. Adrian, just before you go, do you mind giving us a little bit of idea what this pitch is about?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pitch to the founder of Solana and some other people who are also very big names in the space. The founder of Helios, Mert, who is arguably one of the most popular and famous influencers in crypto, but definitely on Solana. Sees himself as a bit of a Zcash influencer these days, but he's got a lot of reach in the space, and he's built an incredibly successful company himself. And then the other two are Ansem, who obviously needs no introduction, and Chow, who maybe is the dark horse of the four that many people might not have heard of, but the builders in the space certainly know who he is, because he is deeply involved with Alliance DAO, which is a startup accelerator for crypto projects. They kind of take an interesting approach. They tend not to back ideas, they back founders, and they will encourage founders to pivot aggressively into different ideas and keep moving, and keep the money. It's like, we don't care that we backed a DEX idea and you're now building a prediction market, or now you're doing NFTs or whatever. They back the founders, which I think as a person building, I love that concept. So they're doing great things for the space. And so those four are very influential people in the space, and we're getting the opportunity to pitch to them and explain what we're doing, explain what our ideas are, what kind of traction we've got in the market, what view we have, and the things that we think we can build, and hopefully get some great feedback from them. That's really our goal here, is to put the idea in their lap and let them chew on it, and hopefully they come back and say, like, here's how you can make this better. Here's what you could do differently. Here's all the ideas that we think you should run with, and maybe connect us with some people in the space as well. That's the goal. But at the end of the day, it's great visibility for us. It's going to be streamed on the official Solana account directly. So there's going to be a lot of viewership there. So it's just a great opportunity for us to put ourselves in front of a huge audience on Solana, and we get our 10 minutes to say our piece, and hopefully we can win some people over in the audience, and we can win over people on the panel, and we can take Hyper to the next stage of development. Really, that's the goal here, because we think we're onto something with what we're building. We think we've got some great ideas. We've executed on a lot of them. Some of the ideas that we're running with now with the hackathon are much bigger. Like, these are not just we're helping a couple communities out. This is we're helping the entirety of Solana. So that's going to need some money. It's going to need more network. It's going to need more connections. It's just going to need a lot more help from people who have the reach. And these are the guys that have the reach. So this is our shot to really put ourselves out there and hopefully take Hyper to the next level.
You speak so eloquently, and you make it so approachable, but I also know you're a very busy guy. So I appreciate you coming out here every week to kind of recap what's going on at the hackathon and, get some ideas or practice for the pitch. I know you have to jet. Thank you so much for your time again. Cato, maybe give it to us in a little bit of layman's terms. If somebody, we've just broken 300 listeners. If somebody's just tuning in today, how would you describe what this team and what this project is doing?
As far as layman's terms goes, I'm gonna give it to you straight, man, and for everybody else that's in here, there is no project out there right now doing it bigger than us. It doesn't exist. I don't think people understand the grand picture that is behind the work that is getting put in and day out. Like if you were to just zoom out for a second and see the trajectory that this project has gone, right? We started off as just this simple meme, right? Nothing else behind it. And now we've scaled to a point where we're getting into rooms with founders of Solana, right? There is individuals that created the space that are now getting into rooms with us, with the CTO you just saw up here on stage, and are genuinely interested in what we have going on, right? This is not something fugazi that we're talking, and there's no work going on. We are walking the walk, per se. So I don't know how bullish you seem to be on this project right now, but I'm speaking to those who've been here for a while and those that are just getting here now in terms of being involved in the project. You're not bullish enough, right? You don't see what I see behind the scenes every day, the amount of blood, sweat, and tears that the team is putting on behind the scenes, especially the dev guys, especially the BDs going out there every day, contacting different communities and getting it in front of the right eyes. So just with that, I mean, if that doesn't make you want to, bag the project, I don't know what does. There's just too much positivity going on, and I think people get blinded with the way the markets are looking now. Well, they'll say, but Ethereum is down and Sol is down and the memes are down and this and that, and it's like that's fine. The reason why we sound so calm and collected is because we know the cards that we're holding in our hand. We're not worried about what the market is doing. That's just noise at the moment. Market cap is just noise at the moment because we see the bigger picture. And this is not just a short-term play.
Yeah, it's interesting to say that, because the one thing, it trickles from the top down. And Metablock is one of those people that loves to underpromise and overdeliver. So there's so much that every week on our team meeting that I get so excited that I want to talk about that we're not allowed to, and it's not that I'm just trying to hold these cards to our chest or say that. It's because there is so much going on and so many facets to it that sometimes it's just best to build in silence. And I think you made a great point earlier when you said, we started this in January, February, March. It was around there last year, as an idea. And now this month, we're sitting down with the co-founder of Sol. We have all these crazy networks and teams of developers, not even on our own, like the France team. There was the Baltic guys. There's so much. And for a normie like myself, when I say normie, I mean non-dev, when you hear these guys talk and they're getting in on the meetings and they're getting so excited, and you can tell they feed off each other and what they want to accomplish, and that they're actually doing it. And there's so much to come. Now, this isn't going to happen overnight. This is one of those things. It is going to take a little bit of time. But I mean, the Time.Fun pitch is on the 24th, I believe, or the 28th. The hackathon is almost over. And just when the hackathon's over, it doesn't mean they're stopped building either. They just need to have one thing finished for the hackathon that they couldn't have already built. So we couldn't use the coin flip, the meme generator, the multi-millions, the 3 products that they've already built, because it has to be new. And the coin flip, sure, it's a lot of fun. And you can get your communities involved. Like we said earlier, just reach out to Hyper on Sol on X. If you have a Telegram community that you want that in, no problem. The real thing there was the RNG, the random number generator. This was something that wasn't been able to do on chain before. Randomness is really difficult, but it's also very crucial for a lot of programmers. And we just had to prove concept of that working. And the easiest way to prove of that working was just a simple heads or tails game. But there's so many programs, games, and other companies that need that randomness. It doesn't have to be just that coin flip. The coin flip was just the proof of the pudding that we can create pure randomness on chain. And we've already got people lining up that want to use the RNG. You know, the analogy we've spoken about many times is we want to be the app store. What the app store is to Apple, we want to be the app store for the Solana blockchain. And that's no small feat. But if you can provide all the tools to all the builders and the developers, the growth of that just snowballs, right? There's not a lot of development and growth on the Solana blockchain compared to others because of the difficult nature of fetching data off chain. And that's one of the biggest problems that they're trying to solve. That's what gets Adrian out of bed every day and the dev team behind this project really excited. Seeing that excitement, seeing the vision from the CEO's top down, like I said before, the CEO's vision to, he's been in the space since Bitcoin. He was in Metablock, was in the space since the ICO of Ethereum. We're about to, if you've been following our X account, Hyper on Sol on X, you'll know that we've been doing some short interviews of get to know the team, and we have the longer formats, and we're actually going to be interviewing Metablock here in the next little bit, the CEO, the guy with the vision behind this. And this dude's not only a whale, but he's a visionary, and he's been in the space, like I said, since Bitcoin, and was in the ICO of Ethereum. And the guy's still in the space and still building, and he's built a lot of stuff in the past as well, and has been very successful. And when you see his passion, it's infectious. And that's how he built a team of 20 people with crazy different skill sets. We've got a bunch of devs. We've got marketing teams that have a ton of experience in the Web3 space. We've got, investors that just got in because they believed and they got excited. And now, like Cato here, he's like our Swiss Army knife. He's always like, what can I do to help? And the jack of all trades. You're going to say something here, brother?
Yeah. So just to kind of reiterate in terms of, I think sometimes in terms of sports, right? When I got involved in this project, I looked at the team, right? And let's say if it was basketball, I'm looking at the coach, I'm looking at the players on the team, and I go, if I had to put my money on a team to take it all the way and win a championship, this is the team, right? Because it's not just one player. It's not just, we're good at scoring one day and not the other. It's we're able to execute on a daily basis, look at the long-term vision, break it down, and hit that target on a day-to-day basis. And that's where that comes in. If I had to bet on a team, if I had to bet on a horse in a race, whatever the case may be, Hyper is that team. Hyper is that horse that's going to take it. It's not a matter of if Hyper is going to succeed. It's just a matter of when, right? That is the only outlier, right? The only variable that we can't control, but it's just inevitable with the amount of effort and time that we are putting in. That is just inevitable. It's just a matter of when. It's not even an if.
And what I love is when we get together as a team every week, we brainstorm what more can we do for the community and things like that. We have over 330 of you guys now tuning in and listening to us. Really appreciate it. I say that a lot, but I really do. I mean it. Here's another thing. We're not paid. We're all doing this out of the passion and the belief, right? We're not KOLs. We're not shills. We went that route. We're not going to lie. We got nothing to hide. The project did. And what did all the KOLs do? Nothing. They do what KOLs do every time. They promised the moon. They didn't do anything. And they took their tokens and they dumped them and they dumped the chart. But did that stop the team? Did that stop these guys? No. We also had a major hack. One of the things I want to do when I get back, if you're just tuning in, I'm in Thailand, I'm on holiday, but is I want to actually mark the events of, when the KOLs sold, when the major hack had. We unfortunately had a gentleman who was in our Discord, which we're about to reopen, get hacked and lost a massive amount. He was a big investor, and the hack just sold it all off, crashed the charts. So it takes a little more understanding to what's happened when you look at the chart, and when you line up the events and what has happened, it makes sense. And let's be honest, we were a meme CTO. A lot of the degens in the space we all know, they're just in and out. They want a quick buck. But if you've been listening now for almost 40 minutes and tuned in, this is shy 350 of you now, you're not that person. You might do a little bit on the side here and there. I mean, we're probably all guilty a little bit of that. But there are good projects in this space. There are good teams in this space. And when you stumble upon them, you get that aha. And sometimes I find the hardest thing to describe about this team, it is the capacity of it and the big vision, because what they're trying to do is huge. They're trying to create a SaaS model. They're creating online revenue in one company while providing all the tools to make one of the top blockchains more usable and easily to onboard. These aren't small little hopium dreams, and it's neat to see how much of them just wake up and are devoted and grind at it day and day and day, and it's the challenge that gives them the thirst to do it. So one of the things, we're going on about 40 minutes here, just shy of 350. Thanks again. One of the things, if you've been following me for a while, for the last over 5 years, I've always tried to stay true to my word. Canna Crypto Pope. Crypto is my middle name. I used to stream Monday to Friday, all of my calls, what the market is doing, and talking about the money flow cycle. If you haven't been doing or following me and you're interested in that, now's a good time to do that, because I've been asked by this group, would I do it again? And I said, sure. Now, I'm not going to do it Monday to Friday. I'm going to do this every week for you guys. And we have a couple other traders on our team that do trading for a living, such as myself. And we're going to kind of coach people through, if you're new to trading, how to do it. If you're not new to trading, you can copy trade some of our trades. And hopefully you can just come along for the ride. The one thing I've learned is, over the time, nobody teaches this stuff. Nobody teaches finance. Nobody talks about money. And of course, This is being broadcasted from my company site, not financial advice, a fucking course, because we have to say that for legality reasons and all of the whatnots. But what I like to do is I like to show people what I see at the end of the day. You know, am I perfect? No. Do I do well at this? Yes. This is what I do. And I try to filter data and filter out the noise. And Twitter is a great place to learn about projects and things like that, but it's also a great place to screw with your judgment and your emotions. Once you understand the fundamentals of trading and the money flow cycle, literally that's 10%. That's 10% of what it takes to be successful in this space. The other 90% is emotional management. And that all comes down to you as an individual and not getting lost in the sauce, or, you know, the sky is falling, or what I call the sheeple, and following the herd. And if you can stay level-headed and look at data, you really can change lives in this space. And I trade everything. I don't just trade crypto. I trade gold. I trade precious metals. I trade stocks. I trade real estate. But at the end of the day, what we're going to do, me and a couple other traders, we're going to reopen the Discord, and we're going to actually put some trades in there in our market analysis so you can copy trade us. And we're going to do this every Thursday, 6 p.m. UTC. We're going to give you an update of what's going on with HyperTek and the Hyper on Soul project. We have guests from time to time, as if you've been tuning in regularly. We've had some pretty cool guests and some pretty cool giveaways. When we can get quality guests, we're going to bring them on. We're not always, we were going to have one tonight. Unfortunately, they had to cancel at the last minute due to some family issues. But this is my job for the HyperTek team, is to host and coordinate these spaces every week. And on these spaces, like I said, we're going to bring you updates on the team, updates on the technology, and updates on the market. It's the least we can do. Noir, nice. Pleasure, brother. It's pleasure. And here's the thing. We're always going to be streaming through various different channels. You can ask us. If you ask or make a comment on any how you're watching this right now, it comes directly to my desktop immediately. So when you hear Adrian talking and you have a question, ask it, right? Let's get that answered for you. If you have a question and I'm on it and we're talking about the money flow cycle, ask it. Let's get that answer for you. We're here. We're accessible. We want to be here. 100% fire. Thank you, Ice. Christian DePaz reposted the stream. Thanks, brother. That's how we get the word out there. I appreciate it. We're just shy of 400 listeners. And I always said, when the markets are a little red, numbers are always a little down. When the markets are green, we're in the thousands. It's just kind of how it goes. So let's chat, more get at. Let's bring up what's going on here. And when I talk about the money flow cycle, it is all the money in the crypto market. We have to look at the total market cap. And I like to, I like to not mess up my charts from previous. I like to zoom out and have a look at what's going on over the big period of time. And I'm going to take off my drawings, so this just looks clean. What do we have here? You know, we were at an all-time high of 4.28 trillion. I think we're going to get to the high sixes, mid sevens trillion market cap is, I think, a realistic goal or measurement for the end of this cycle before we start to see the bear come back. We're not in a bear at the moment. We're still making higher highs and higher lows. It hasn't been a shit couple of weeks, absolutely, but there's some reasons behind that, and I'm going to get into it. Thanks for your hard work. Looking forward to see how this project grows in the next few years. Appreciate it, buddy. Us too, man. Us too. And just shy of 400 of you now tuning in. Appreciate you guys being here. We will be here every Thursday, 6 p.m. UTC time. I mean, I'm on holiday right now, and I'm still coming to you live because I see the value of this team, and I made a commitment to the team, and they made a commitment to me. I'm excited. So 1 week, if you're new to trading, each one of these candles is 1 week time frame. Red means it's going down, green means it's going up. It's really that simple. Now, we had this big flash crash here, and that was the tease of tariffs being 100% on China. We all know the Trump regime is greatly been influencing the markets this whole past year. I haven't seen market manipulation in the markets like we've seen this year in quite some time. It's been tough to be a swing trader. I've been doing longer trades that have been luckily very successful, but there's a lot going on. Let's just see what the news is saying. See if any of this is just noise or anything is good. New wallets move over 160 million in Bitcoin from Binance and Falcon X. That's decent. And what do we got coming here? Housing starts, building permits, and Powell's speech on the what does that say? October 14th. Oh, that already happened, right? Because it's a weekly candle. My bad. We're holding, ironically, this 3.65 line here. With what's been going on, I wouldn't be overly surprised when we have a pullback that we're going to get down again into this area right in here. And we got to remember, people, when every single bull run we've had in the past, there's always been major pullbacks or black swan events. And I mean, some of these pullbacks are massive. There's 1.44 trillion, over half of the market left in a week in the mid 21s for those that were there and remember. This bear, which I don't think we're at the bear yet by any means, was 72%, 2.14 trillion. And that happened in, 3/4 of a year before we found consolidation and stabilization. And why don't I think we're in a bear? Because we're still making higher lows. Our lows are still higher. We're still having some pullback. And this pullback has been, like I said, because of the Trump tariff talks with China and a few other things. I'm going to share something now that was given to me, and I found it rather quite interesting. Just give me a second here to be able to present it on screen. It just takes a second to switch between all my different stuff. And I thought this was really well done. And for whatever reason, it's not giving me the slider to restart the actual video from the very beginning. I have no clue who this guy is, full disclosure. This just came up in my feed, and I thought it was well done. And I was really interested in what he had to say. And to be honest, it made a lot of sense. And so I thought I would share it this week with you all. And just in case the beginning is a little caught off because I had to pause it, the words on the screen are: the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, has warned the U.S. that their debt spiral is getting out of control. Have a quick listen to this.
Their debt spiral is getting out of control. So much that practically every country in the world now wants to sell the US debt. So what will happen if every country, including China, Japan, UK, Canada, everyone sells the US debt that they hold? Well, I'll explain in less than 2 minutes. Firstly, the US today owes about $36 trillion in debt, which for context is more than the combined GDP of every European country, every African country, every South American country put together. And for context, if we were to distribute this on all US citizens, each person would owe more than $100,000 to the world. But why did the US even borrow so much money in the first place? Well, primarily for three things. Firstly, to bail out their banks out of the 2008 financial crisis. Then, to fund their defense budget, which is more than $800 billion a year. For context, more than the 10 following countries combined. And then the third thing, to boost consumption in their economy post-COVID, because, well, everyone in the US likes buying things on credit card debt. But here's the context. Well, right now, China is fast selling all the treasury bond that they hold, which is debt in the US. Even Japan is selling it. UK and Canada are considering selling it. Now imagine, if everyone starts selling US debt, what is going to happen? The value of gold is going to rise. The value of other currencies, for example, the yuan, is going to rise in the world. And the US would not want that. Which is why, to maintain its power, the US would try to increase the interest rate on its debt to make it more attractive for the world. But should they be doing it? Because right now, just their interest liability for 1 year is over $1 trillion, which is more than their defense budget and is absolutely unsustainable. Which is why, to get out of it, the US can do two things. Either they can increase taxes on the rich, or they can reduce their spend on social benefits like healthcare and education for the poor. But if they do either of these things, it will cause a massive civil unrest in the US. Which is why, what is it that they're doing? They're increasing tax revenue through increasing tariffs and removing immigrants. Will that help? You tell me in the comments and share it with someone who may need it. The IMF.
So there is a lot to unpack in that. But one of the main things that he did mention was about gold. And if you've been in the market for some time, there used to be a cycle of where there was a Bitcoin cycle, then it rolled into ETH, and then it rolled into alts. And there used to be this old chart that went around that showed how the money flowed through it. And that was true when there wasn't a lot of alts, and there wasn't a lot of tokens, and there wasn't pump fund, and there wasn't all these other things. Now we're seeing a much different market. And when Bitcoin would drop, typically you would see gold rise. And when gold would fall, typically you would see Bitcoin rise. Because when money is scared, it always goes back to gold. And what we're seeing now is we're seeing Bitcoin and gold go up in unison. Now, obviously, we've had some pullbacks. Crypto is the most volatile market out of all markets, out of precious metals, out of stocks, out of real estate. It's your highest volatility, it's your highest risk assets. We all know this, right? So when scared money goes back, and we've all heard of the fear and the greed index, when scared money happens, it goes into gold. When that scared money is now risk on or risk averse, as they say, you start to see the S&P rise. You start to see crypto rise. You start to see the total market cap. And this is why I like to watch in what I've called the money flow cycle. If money is coming into crypto market or if it's leaving, it depends on how you want to trade. If we know money is leaving the crypto market, do we want to be entering longs or shorts? Well, we want to be entering shorts, right? And if we know money is coming into the market, we want to be entering longs. Now everything's starting to make sense. Wow, Noir, I'm glad you're loving it. This is why I'm doing what I do. Macy Bluebell reposted this stream. Thank you so much. We're just shy of 400 people. And Frank, great to see you again, buddy. This is a minimum 1B project. Like Cato said, you're not bullish enough, extremely undervalued. Once the rest of the market catches up, You don't want to be left behind. I agree. I absolutely agree. Let's get back into those markets and let's talk about what this guy was saying. When Trump kind of positioned himself in this tariff war, thinking that everybody was going to kind of bow down. And we've never seen anything like what's happening in the world currently. Markets are affected by world politics, whether we like it or not. I have to discuss and look at politics to determine what's going on in the market. Doesn't mean I'm political. Money just is. Money isn't political. Money isn't, racist. Money isn't sexist. Money just is. And if we can follow the flow of the money, it makes us better at trading. And with this posturing going on, he really thought everybody was going to kind of buckle down. And a lot of nations didn't. And that created some interesting effects, sadly, for a lot of Americans. They're starting to feel the effects of that. And their country's going into recession. But more importantly, what's happened is what's going on in the markets, like gold. Like if we look at gold here, gold's just been on a tear. Like let's put it on the daily. And one of my indicators here is the critical greed. And that's why it's all changed color. Is critical greed has been firing, saying that, it's overbought. But in reality, our EMAs, our micro bull is still pointing straight up. Gold has no indication of slowing down. There should be retracements. These little pullbacks here are healthy. This is what you want to see in anything. If we even do this on a 3-day, here's some consolidation right after some critical greed firing here, and we're still pointing straight up. I told people to buy gold ages ago, if you were watching in my previous streams. And one of my traders I trade with on the regular is a gold trader, trades gold on the Monday to Friday. And I'm talking about getting him in our Discord and posting his trades. He did a beautiful trade today. To bring you that, I don't trade as much gold as I do crypto. I do trade it sometimes when I see the trade there. But we're at all-time highs ever. And I think it's going to go higher based on that little video clip that we just watched. It makes sense that people aren't going to, or countries aren't taking this bullion aspect, and they're selling their treasury bonds from the US. That makes the situation where gold goes up in value and the US has to make their treasury bonds more attractive by offering more interest, which causes the dollar to fall. So there's a lot at play, and we're in a market situation that for all the years I've been trading, I've never seen. And I've talked to traders that have been doing this, twice as long as me, and they've never seen it. So that's where I think we'll also build a little bit of value with our hyper community, is we can start to digest all this different information. And when we go back to the total market cap, if we look at this on a daily, it kind of paints a different picture. We can see that we've been consolidating in this area here. Consolidation is healthy, right? This big nasty wick is market panic, market manipulation. But where we're at now, where we're at right now after these events is where we were at the end of September, where we were at in the end of August, where we were at in the beginning of August. And I honestly believe we're going to mellow out in our total market cap. We might push down to that 3.5 trillion area, and we're going to come back and retest the 4.25 area. We need to settle above this box here, And if you've been following my streams for years, you'll know these boxes have been here for eons. I'll just take that one away and I'm going to extend it. This one here. We haven't broken out of any of these areas of consolidation that we've been in since July. For me right now, there's no reason to panic. In fact, right now, it looks like we have another parallel channel right here. Right? 1, 2, 3 touches. So we could come down to the bottom of this channel. We just need to break out, retest it, and we're back up on our way. I'll leave that channel in there, and we'll see how the next few weeks bring. But what's interesting is when we were up here and everybody was saying, October, in the beginning of October, we were at the top of stochastic RSI. Now we've reset it. We've done this past week and a half has created some really interesting scenarios where we were able to reset the critical fear and greed, and we were able to reset the stochastic RSI, which we needed to. We needed to do that. Why? Because we can't go up forever. There always has to be pullbacks. We want this to be healthy. And if you want healthy growth in the market, you need to have retracements. And this is where I was saying earlier in the stream where, the emotion, every time there's a red candle, you can just go on Twitter and the sky is falling. The Chicken Littles are out, right? But at the end of the day, when we zoom out and we look at the big picture, we're doing just fine. If you leveraged or over leveraged and you got wiped out, let that be a lesson. The beautiful thing about trading and the lessons are you pay for them right away. 420 listeners. Love you guys. Love that number. 422. We just broke it. So that's the total market cap. That's the money flow. Now, to be honest, I'm not sure if I'd want to be shorting, right? Because it's that fine balance of you got to find your entries when they're low if you're longing, right? And I think we're going to start to see the bottoms of a lot of these dips before the next run of them. You never know. Black swans could happen. Trump could do another crazy speech and send the market crazy for a bit. That gives you opportunities. If you bought at the bottom down here on that wick, and took this rebound to even where it is right now here today, you made some good money. There's been a lot of good money to make in the markets this market, right? So my goal is to answer any questions that I see from my perspective for our community. We have Zeke joining us also, who's a full-time trader, to give some of his trades. Like I said, I got a good buddy of mine that's a gold trader. We're going to put some of his calls in there as well. So let's jump in and look at Bitcoin. And this is what we talked about last week. I left the drawings in, right? We had 3 probabilities. We could break up to here, where this was our all-time high from candle body, retest it and take off. Well, that didn't happen, right? So let's get rid of that. We said we could pull down or consolidate along here to try to retest and break that high. That didn't happen. Or we said we could come down to this level down here and retest this 108 mark before we go back up, face some, resistance here before we take off. And look what happened. I'm not always going to sing, just the bullish perspective. I'm going to try and give you, just like we did last week, the 3 different options, or not last week, 2 weeks ago. Sorry, last week we did stream on X. We weren't able to do StreamYard. So this was from 2 weeks ago, and we nailed it. We nailed one of the situations. Now, it was a black swan with the thing, and of course that wick was a quick one and just went down and back. But here we are. And same thing, no reason to panic. And this box has been drawn. Oh my God, when did we do this box? It was back in the beginning of the year. I mean, we're still above it. Not saying that we can't come down to this 100,000 mark again. It would take some bad news, I think, to do that, and it is possible. But I'm still wouldn't be panicked at that point. I know a lot of people with me have your stop losses in place if you're in long spots. But we reset our stochastic. Our RSI is completely neutral. We're still miles above the 200 EMA. So yes, when Bitcoin goes on a red candle, people panic. If you're in this for the long game and not the short game, you'll be fine. Dominance has been interesting. This channel has been drawn on. I didn't even want to change it. I added these arrows because I've had this on for almost 3 years. And the amount of times I've been called various things for saying we weren't in an alt season this time last year because we never broke the channel. We just had a really nice run on alts. And they're the classic alts, if you remember, the Cardanos, the XRPs, and the Stellars, and all the classics. Well, even with that wick in from that news, we've still retested alt season. We're still out of this channel. We still look like we have downwards pressure to go. We are still in a micro bear, which we want to be for alts to run, going on the weekly. On the daily, we had a little bit of up motion. It wants to break still. We're looking like we want to curl and come down. Bullish. Short term, tough to say. Long term, bullish. Ethereum. Ethereum followed our pattern from my last major stream I did with Cryptoverse in March. Streamed here, said we we're probably going to follow this kind of white line and go. And we came pretty damn close. And then obviously, the last couple of weeks with all this has been tough. But we're retesting this support and this support area. And if we add our indicators, it's really pinching. And I'll get into these indicators more. We're running a little long on time right now. We're over an hour. But we have over 430 of you listening. I appreciate you being here. Yeah, and I am solo at the moment. We had Adrian had to go because he has to get to work for the hackathon, and Cato, it's his morning in Florida, and he had to get to his day. I'm just going to do a quick summary on ETH and Solana and BNB, and then I'm going to call it a day myself, as it's 2 a.m. and I'm on holiday in Thailand. Hopefully one day you guys can visit me either in Thailand, Southeast Asia, or when I'm coming to the UK in around Christmas time. Legendary. Appreciate it. So let's look at ETH on the short term. Let's get all this mess cleaned up. like I said, we're holding this area here of support. We've had this consolidation in here. I wouldn't be shocked to see if the news comes out that, you know, China and the US are getting along now and a new deal is made, and we see our next leg up in the markets. That's what I'd like to see. I'm going to be honest. If we just go into our indicators, it is saying there's a little more downwards pressure, which right now there is a little bit of uncertainty, but it is looking like it's mellowing out. We have, if we were to drop in a parallel channel here, we have a bunch of touches. Looks like it's wanting to belly soon and work its way back up to these all-time highs, people. Right. And in every cycle, there's always typically a few decent pullbacks. And we've had a few decent pullbacks. You know, there's an all-time, the first time it made its all-time high, 14%. Right. There's a wick of an all-time high down to consolidation area, 13.79. Just shy of its all-time high to a quick wick, 26, to where it's currently at 17.89. So, and I think ETH has still got some legs. I have no indication as to why it wouldn't. Like I said, stochastic has been reset. See the news. Right, like 10,000, who knows? I hate when these kind of things come out. But yeah, I don't, at least the analysis there is that, you know, we're all kind of on the same page that we think it's going up, you know. And if we look, once again, we hide everything. We're just in a nice consolidation area. When people are at the top of consolidation, they're euphoric. When they're at the bottom, they panic. You want to be different. Don't do what everybody else does. And when everybody else is panicking, blood on the streets, that's the time to buy. When everybody else is telling you this is the greatest in the bull run, that's the time to sell. You know, that's typically what you're looking at. Solana. Let's just quickly jump into Solana. Just having a quick overview on the 3-day. And if anybody wants me to get into the indicators, just let me know, because when you look at it, it can be a little bit of a mess. Oops. I mean, we've had so much up from its low. I won't go off that wick. 78% in 195 days, and people are panicking. We need retracements. I've said this time and time again. We are probably going to retest this area of 176. We're probably going to retest this area in here. Would be my gut feeling. Where's my tool? Sorry, I'm on my travel computer, so everything's a little wonky. I've already got boxes in there. I'm going to clean this up. I'm going to take off some indicators. Just bear with me for a sec here. And yes, I have my own custom indicators that I've developed. And I also have some free ones. And I can go into that more another day. But since HyperTek is building on Sol, why don't we start fresh? And just have a quick look at what I think Solana is doing. So we have this rectangle, and this is just what I call quick and dirty. If you've been watching me for years, you've heard me say this a million times. But we're just going to take this section here. You know, we had resistance, we have support, support, resistance, support, finally broke out, fought around the top. We can see that it tried to hold it in here on top, but it fell, even went below twice to then continue. And then now we're back in. So this is why I think, and if we do another box, these are the two areas of the consolidation right now that to me look like we're Solana's. We want to make sure we're staying above that 162. It would be nice to come right back out of this bigger box that we just drew and retest it. Retest means, you know, what this happens here is a retest so we can take off again. And we do have a parallel channel that is happening. We can throw one in quickly. One, two. So we could, looking like it could get down to that 163 area I said before retesting the channel and out. It would just take a switch of some good news, and this is like everything else, just going to turn around. Stochastic is still, again, like everything else, it's been reset. It's at the bottom. And when we're in all-time high, people, it's tough to maintain those all-time highs, right? It makes sense that they're going to be pullbacks. Think about all the people that have been bag holding since the FTX crash and Solana was $12, you know, and they've been cashing out along here or taking profits as they go. So some retracements to me aren't anything to really worry about. And this is on the 3-day, right? So let's add some basic indicators in. I love my micro bear and micro bull. It's looking like it wants to pinch. And Bollinger, it's coming down to the bottom as well. I'm just going to use those two at the moment. So micro bear, micro bull from NFAOFC is just an EMA cross at the end of the day. I use a specific date number for the averages, and I also factor in commission, which I think a lot of people forget when they're setting up their algos. So I find my micro bear and micro bull tool quite successful, and it looks like we're about to fire a small micro bear, which would come up here, drive the price down a little bit, belly out, and then on our way back up. Like I said, it might look like we want to retest this area down in here in this 160s before taking off. I wouldn't be overly surprised if it did that. I'd be more surprised, honestly, if it just turned around and ripped. All it would take is a little good news for that to happen. And it looks like this last micro bear that we had here in, when was that? Middle of June, kind of consolidated. It was tight. It wasn't as bad as the one in February where we had a much bigger drawdown. I don't believe we're going to see that unless we have another black swan. So for me right now, still bullish in a lot of things. There are pain that comes along on the way. Nothing up goes up forever. You don't want it to. These are times where, you know, if you miss certain tokens that you wanted to be in and you wish you were in them, now's a good time. You know, dollar cost entry and average your entries. You know, you don't have to go all in. You should never go all in, first off, but you shouldn't go all in if you've been on the sidelines waiting to get an entry. You know, you can dollar cost average your entry, split it up into 3, buy a little now just in case it rips, have a couple lower entry points. B&B, can you tell I was scalping when you're on the 15-minute? I mean, this has been extraordinary. And I think CZ is obviously a large part of that. To see B&B over $1,000. I remember trading this in the beginning. Never thought it would get to these kind of numbers, and it's amazing to witness. Critical greed has been firing, and obviously that's been a lot with the perp dexes and everything else going on. Stochastic is saying some downward pressure. We had a crazy wick. Can't remember what that was about. That was probably the Trump news. I have no idea. It looks like it. We're on the 3-day. Would make sense. And we can see our EMAs are starting to curl but mellow. No indication of pressuring still to the downside other than stochastic. And we have a green out and a red in on Bollinger, which typically means we might fight to see that median area of 1,000. But there's so much going on with the chain, tough to tell. On the 4-hour, let's have a look. We have lots of liquidity building down at this $1,000 level. Seems to be consolidating in this area, having trouble getting past this 1,200. I would put, and we're above the 200 EMA. I bet you it'll retest the 200 EMA. It wouldn't be a bad idea to have an entry at 1,100, 1,099. If it breaks the 200 EMA on the 4-hour, when's the last time it did it? A long time ago. June. So I could see it being to retest the 200 and try to sweep some of this liquidity that's building down here before it goes off to the upward side again. But it does look like the EMAs are starting to level out and push it to the upside. And it is at the bottom of Bollinger, where it looks like it wants to go back to the upside as well. So I hope that helps for those with a little bit of curious as to what's going on in the markets. And from my perspective, we are working at getting the Hyper Discord active again as soon as I get back from my holiday, which is at the end of the month. And we will have dedicated channels to TA answering any questions and my actual trades of market entry, market exit, and the percentages that we're trying to catch. And as long as not just myself, but a couple other traders that do this full time as well in the group. So, ladies and gentlemen, there's 455 of you. I appreciate you all being here. If you are new, we do this every Thursday at 6 p.m. UTC time. And I look forward to seeing you next week. I'm going to enjoy some time in Thailand. I hope you are enjoying wherever you are around the world. Thanks again. Love you all. Peace out.